the camera is facing me, all they see is some of the back of your heads. If you turn around and look at the camera, then they'll see your face. All right. Good morning. Welcome again. My name is Judge Miguel de la O. I know I met some of you last week, but there were a few of you that weren't here. Facing me, all they see is some of the back of your heads. If you turn around and look at the camera, then they'll. All right. There we go. Okay. Some of you weren't here last week. Could you raise your hands if you were? I'm sorry. When I say last week, I mean on Zoom. Some of you didn't appear on Zoom. I need to know which ones of you that is. What? If you'll stand up for me, because it's going to make it easier for me since it's hard to see. Oh, there we go. So there's only, is Ramel here? Okay, I just want to confirm there were only three. There are three. Just three. Okay. So we got four. Okay, yeah, if you'll stay standing for a moment. I'm sorry. There's another one. Oh. That's why I'm trying to make sure I have the right number. If there were five new ones. Okay, can you swear them in, Keisha? Swear in actually everybody stand, and then when Keisha's done, those of you who were not on Zoom, you stay standing, everybody else will be able to sit down.
Raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will answer truthfully all questions asked of you as prospective jurors? Say I do.
The rest of you can be seated. All right, those of you who are standing, the ones who weren't on Zoom, I need to know a few things. Are you all 18 years of age? Are you U.S. citizens? And do you reside in Miami-Dade County? Excellent. If you're selected for this jury, you'll be here all week. Do any of you have a conflict where you wouldn't be able to serve here all week? Okay, sir, if you'll state your name. He needs a mic. Thank you. Give us 1 second because we need to get him a mic.
Now I'm on medical leave. I got an injury to my arm and my knee.
Okay.
I got a doctor note for it.
So are you not able to sit?
It just hurt when I sit too long.
And if I tell you, you can stand anytime you want, would you be able to serve?
Yeah, I'll be okay.
Stand up anytime you want. You can even walk.
Okay.
No, I'm serious.
I have a job interview.
I got jokes, but they're better than that.
I got a job interview coming up too.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Job interview up tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Have a three-day job interview?
Yeah.
What are you interviewing for?
Driver.
Takes 3 days to interview. 3 days to interview you?
Yeah, I got to set up. Yes.
Okay. So we can reschedule your jury duty if you'd like, if you can't serve.
Okay. If I get called up, yes.
Okay. Any objections?
No objections. Can we know what juror that is?
Yes. I'm sorry. What's your name?
Old Lado.
Okay. Do you all have a charge? Do we know
where
Ramel is? Okay. We're going to work on that. All right, sir. You're excused. Mary's going to reschedule your jury. You can go. You can go. Thank you. The rest of you, if you're picked, you can serve, right? Thumbs up. I love that. All right. You all can be seated. Thank you. Right. So as I said to you all on Zoom the other day, this is the criminal division of the courtrouse, and what we're going to do today is select the jury. Now, one of the questions I get often when I have so many people in the room is, why do we have so many people in the room? By the end of today, we're going to select 9 of them to serve on this jury. And so the question is, why didn't I just pick the first 9 that walked in here and said, you 9, you're the jurors? The reason for that is the same reason that everyone stood up when I walked in, all right? You are going to be judges of the facts in this case. I'm the judge of the law. I will tell you what the law is. So when I walked in, the bailiff made you all rise as a sign of respect. Well, you're going to be judges also. And you'll notice when you walk into the selected for this jury, we're all going to stand up for you because you are the judges of the facts. You'll decide what happened in this case is what occurred a crime and is the defendant the person who committed the crime. That's your job. I'd be a lousy judge if I couldn't follow the law, right? You'd be a lousy juror if you can't follow. So fundamentally, what we're going to do today is I'm going to explain the law to you, and you're going to tell me if you can follow it. And if you can follow the law, then you might be on this jury. And the reason for that is that nothing changes from day to day, depending on who the jurors are. So we're looking for jurors who can follow the law every day. There was a legal philosopher once who was asked, if you're going to create a system that is fair and just to everyone, how do you go about doing that? His answer was so simple. He said, you have to write down the rules, put them in place before anyone knows what they're going to play in the system. So today you walked in here, and your role is that you might be selected as jurors in this case. But you could be back in this courthouse next week, playing a very different role. You could be back as witnesses in a case. You could be back as victims of a crime. You could be back as defendants, or one of your family members might be arrested and be here as a defendant. And it wouldn't matter what your role is, because we put the rules in place over 250 years ago. We said these are the rights that are given to anyone that the government is filing charges against. Every day it should be irrelevant who walks into this room. So what we're looking for are jurors who can follow the rules, regardless of who's the defendant, who's the alleged victim, who are the witnesses in the case. None of that should matter. What matters is the facts and the laws. Does that make sense? That makes sense? All right. Now, was anyone excited to get their jury summons? That's not one of my jokes. There, I got one hand. I got one gentleman raised his hand. I understand. I understand. No matter what time of the year, I send you all a summons and ask you to come serve. It's a burden. All of you have other things to do. You have jobs. You have 3-day job interviews. You have children in school. There's always something else. But this is a very important thing that we do here. This is a right bestowed upon anyone charged with a crime by the Constitution of the United States. And as citizens of the United States, you don't really have a lot of obligation. If you don't want to vote in elections, you don't have to. You don't have to. If you don't want to serve in the military, you don't have to. But you do have to show up for jury duty, and you do have to pay your taxes. Those are the things you must do. It is that important a job. So let me introduce you to the folks who are in the courtroom. I know I introduced some of them to you on Zoom. But let me start with Keisha. She's all the way over there. Half of you will not be able to see her. Keisha is our court clerk. She's the one who swore you in. She's going to be the one who swears in all of the witnesses in this case, and she will keep track of any exhibits that are introduced into evidence. You met Ramel as my bailiff. Robert is also helping us. Where are the other bailiffs helping? That's it. We need more help. We're going to get more help. Mostly because when you're going to answer a question, we need to get you a mic. Otherwise, we can't hear you. So they're responsible for your comfort and your safety. They will tell you where to go, what time to be here. They would normally tell you what's a good place to eat, but you don't have a lot of options because of the current situation. The one thing they can't help you with is anything having to do with this case. They are not going to answer any questions about this case. If you have a question, after the trial starts about this case, then you just write me a note. They'll bring me a note. I'll share it with the lawyers, and if I can answer the question, I will. But the bailiffs will not answer those questions. Now, I'm going to let the state introduce themselves, and then the defense.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Amy Hoover. I represent the state of Florida in today's case, along with my partner,
Joseph Rome. I also represent the state in today's case.
And my name is Melissa Sandness. I also represent the state.
Okay, thank you very much. And then for the defense, if you all introduce yourselves and your client.
Good morning. My name is Elroy John. I represent the defendant in this case, John Calloway, who is here to my right. I'm also joined by my co-counsel, Smith.
Hello.
Right. And I know Ms. Smith's name was said on Zoom the other day, but she wasn't on camera. Does anyone know Ms. Smith? You can move around if you need to. I know we have pillars everywhere. Okay, excellent. And then for this is especially for the 4 jurors who were not here on Zoom. I'm going to read the list of witnesses in this case. Not necessarily that all of them will be called, but these are all the potential witnesses to make sure that you don't necessarily know any of them. Shua Gao, she goes by Dina Gao. Rosny Obas, Claudia Torres, Iso Merjan, Ariel Perez, Stephanie Thompson, Haley Meyer, Susanna Agramonte, Donna Biles, Lauren Nabut, Christian Nickerson, Bernice Suarez, Howard Davis, who's a crime scene technician with the City of Miami Police Department, Sarah Mendoza, Lisa Reedy, Cara Lopez, Karina Pimentel, Victor Murillo, Chantel Moffett,
Alejandro
Alejandro Rebellar,
Victor Borges, and Javier Alonso, who also works for the City of Miami Police Department. Does anyone know any of the witnesses' names
I've read? Either
now it occurred to you know them or from the
jurors
who were not here last week?
See, no hands, no one knows any of them. Excellent. Okay. Now, how many of you got advice before you came here? Because only one of you was ever even happy to get your summons. How many of you like called up your friends? I've got jury duty. How do I get out of it?
How do I get out of it?
Right? Yeah.
Right?
The
Yeah.
laugh gives you away. So one of the pieces of advice you might have gotten, if you're sitting in the front of the room, you're probably going to get picked. But if you're in the back, don't worry about it, because the judge he only needs 9 jurors, and he's got about 39 of you in here. That advice will not work in this room. What I do is I have a deck of cards with your numbers on them, and I shuffle the deck of cards, and then I pick a card. So let's say, yeah, no, this is true. The first number is number 23. Then we ask ourselves, can juror number 23 be fair to both sides? And the lawyers tell me their opinions. And if we conclude you can be fair, juror 23 is on the jury. 23 is on the jury. Shuffle the deck. I pick juror number 2, and so on.
The point is, it doesn't matter where you're sitting.
You need to pay attention. Don't be on your cell phones. Don't be on your computers. The lawyers are going to ask all of you questions, and you all have an equal chance of serving as of not serving on this jury. Got it? All right. This is how it's going to go this morning. I'm going to explain the law to you. I'm going to start that in a moment. I'm going to essentially give you a crash course on first-year criminal law. Same thing we teach the lawyers in law school. And I'm going to make sure you can follow those simple principles. After I'm done, I'm going to probably talk to a few of you individually, because I'm going to go through your questionnaires, and there are some things in there that I know are private, and you may not want to share with 39 strangers on YouTube, because we are live on YouTube. So I will take you into a different courtroom, and you'll just talk with me and the lawyers about those private issues. If I ask you a question and you would rather not answer, even though I didn't invite you to come back and talk to us privately, if you want to answer it in private, just tell me. And that's also true if the lawyers ask you a question and you don't want to share that information in front of everyone, just go ahead and say, I'd like to talk about that privately. We'll go into another courtroom and we'll share, and you can talk to me then. Do you need me? No, you're good. Okay. So after I'm done asking you questions, then the state attorneys will ask you some questions, then the defense lawyers will ask you some questions. At that point, we'll take a break. We will go into another room, and we're going to talk about you behind your back. We're going to try to figure out, just like you're going to talk about us behind our backs. We're going to talk about you. We're going to try to figure out who can be fair, who's a good juror for this case. We'll come back in, we'll tell you who are the 9 jurors, and then everybody gets to go home. Today will be a relatively early day. The rest of the week, we will start at 9 o'clock, and we will go generally till at least 6 o'clock. The exact time we finish will depend on where we are with the witness, and we should be done by Friday. All right? Ready to start? I don't sense a lot of enthusiasm in this course. Let's see if we can liven it. All right. So here's the most fundamental principle of any trial, any criminal trial, anywhere in the United States. The defense attorneys have introduced you to Mr. Callaway. Mr. Callaway is the defendant in this case. That means that the state has filed charges against them. They did that with a document. It's not this document, but it's a document that looks like this. And at the top, it says information. And what it does, is what it sounds like. It informs Mr. Callaway what charges the state is going to try to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. That document, that information is not evidence. And the fundamental rule of any criminal trial is that Mr. Callaway is presumed innocent unless the state can prove he is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. This is what the law says. The defendant has entered a plea of not guilty. This means you must presume or believe the defendant is innocent. The presumption stays with the defendant as to each material allegation in the information through each stage of the trial, unless it has been overcome by the evidence to the exclusion of and beyond a reasonable doubt. Who here, ready? I'm going to start calling them. Who here has ever received a traffic ticket that you did not believe you were guilty? You got the ticket, you knew you weren't guilty. Yeah, I got a lot of hands, a lot of innocent people being charged around here. The gentleman over here with the tie. We don't have a third? Can't find a third bid? No. Okay, sir. Yes. Well, I don't have a chart. You're still working on it. Okay, what's your name, sir?
Daniel Fruciano.
Mr. Fruciano. What did you get a ticket for? And did you stop? Absolutely. But the officer wrote to the ticket anyway, right?
anyway, right?
And you know what that ticket is?
You know what that ticket is?
That ticket is an information. It is a document that informs you what crime, or I'm sorry, what moving violation the officer thought you committed. And she thought you blew a stop sign, right? Did that ticket prove you were guilty?
No.
No, that ticket's not evidence, right?
No.
Evidence is introduced in a courtroom where people testify about what they heard and what they saw. Thank you very much, Mr. Fuciano.
So that speeding ticket,
Mr. Fuciano, I'm sorry, that
failure to stop ticket
failure to
Mr.
stop ticket
Fuciano
Mr.
got
is the equivalent of
has been
the
filed
information that
against
has
Mr.
been
Callaway.
filed against
It was
Mr.
not
Callaway.
evidence.
It was not evidence.
If Mr. Fuciano wanted to
If Mr.
challenge that
Fuciano wanted
ticket,
to
he would go
challenge
to
that
court,
ticket,
and then the
he would
officer
go to
had to put
court,
on
and then the
testimony
officer had to put on testimony and convince the judge, because you don't
Jury
get a jury
in
in
traffic
traffic court.
convince the judge
Convince
that
the
he
judge
had blown
that
the
he had
stop
blown the
sign.
stop
Same
sign.
thing here.
Same thing
The
here.
state has to
The
actually introduce evidence
before you can find Mr. Callaway guilty. Can everyone here presume that at this point, Mr. Callaway is innocent? He is not guilty because the state has not introduced any evidence. Can everyone do that? Is there anyone who can't do that? Okay. I need a volunteer. I don't have a chart, so I can't call on you. I don't know your names. So until somebody else raise your hand, come on. Help me out. I'm dying up here. There we go. The young lady in the front. Right here. Thank you. What's your name, ma'am?
Myra Barakavoli,
What's your last name?
Butakavoli, Butta.
Yes, Butakalbi. Your son is a professional golfer. Okay. Listen, I'm not a mind reader. I read it in her information sheet. Okay. So right now, if I said, I got all these nice folks here, I'm going to give everybody the week off. We need a verdict. Just tell us right now, is Mr. Callaway guilty or not guilty? What would you say?
I don't know. I haven't heard any evidence.
Let me try again. We start this trial. Mr. Callaway is presumed innocent. Can you presume him innocent? Okay. He can only be found guilty if the state introduces enough evidence to convince you he's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Can you follow that?
Yeah.
Have they introduced any evidence?
No.
So Mr. Callaway right now, what is he? Thank you. Can you follow that instruction? Sure. It's a trick question. I get it. I do this to jurors all the time. Thank you. So can anyone not do that? Right now, you've heard no evidence at all. I've told you there's an information file. You can't even tell me what the charges are. You can guess because some of the questions I asked you on Zoom, but you don't even know all the charges, right? So is there anyone here who would find Mr. Callaway anything other than not guilty right now? Sir, you're not on your laptop, are you?
Not, are you?
Yeah, can you shut that off? Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay. Everyone here is telling me they can presume Mr. Callaway not guilty, correct? Any problem with that? The gentleman with the blue purplish shirt, right there, Romel. I just saw you cross your arms, so that worried me. What's your name?
What's your name?
Mr. Johnson?
Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, I think the mic is off. No, it's not. Okay. All right, Mr. Johnson, do you have any difficulty finding Mr. Callaway to not be guilty right now? Okay, thank you. You may just be cold, but I saw you cross your arms as I said it, so I thought I'd ask. Perfect. Thank you. Perfect. As I told you all on Zoom, move your hands. If you scratch your face, I'll think you're trying to get my attention, and I will call on you. All right. So that's the most fundamental principle in any criminal trial. Here's rule number 2, also fundamental in any criminal trial. Mr. Callaway is not only presumed innocent, he has no obligation to prove his innocence. He's presumed he does not have to put on a defense. If his lawyers don't want to put on witnesses, they don't have to. If they don't want to ask any questions of the state witnesses, they don't have to. If they don't want to make a closing argument or an opening statement to you, they don't have to. And it doesn't matter because it isn't about what Mr. Callaway can or can't prove. It is whether the state can convince you that he is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. This is what the law says. The Constitution requires the state to prove its accusation against the defendant. It is not necessary for the defendant to disprove anything, nor is the defendant required to prove his innocence. It is up to the state to prove the defendant's guilt by evidence. Can everyone follow that instruction? Can they forget about the fact that Mr. Callaway may or may not put on a defense? Of course, he can if he wants to, but he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to ask any questions in this trial, make any statements if he doesn't want to, if his lawyers don't want to, and only put the burden on the state. They're the only ones who have to prove anything. Can everyone follow that instruction? Okay. Robert, if you'll give this young lady the mic. Ma'am, what is your name?
Ma'am, what name?
Kalin Etienne.
I can't hear you.
Kalin Etienne.
Etienne?
Yeah.
Okay, good morning, Ms. Etienne.
Good morning.
So let me ask you an easy question. The state calls all of their witnesses, and you are convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Callaway is guilty. Can you find him guilty?
No.
Why not?
Because we.
What I'm saying, let's assume now we're at the end of the trial. The state called all of their witnesses. They put on all of their evidence. And you were convinced beyond a reasonable doubt. Mr. Callaway is guilty. Can you find him guilty?
Can you find him guilty?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think you misunderstood my question. That's fine.
That's fine.
If the young lady behind her. So let me ask you a slightly different question after I get your name. What's your name?
What's your name?
Devonda Flowers.
Flowers.
It's Flowers.
So now let's assume the state calls all the same witnesses. They
They
put on all the same evidence.
all the same evidence.
But you are not
But
convinced.
you are not convinced
That Mr. Callaway's
that
guilty.
Mr. Callaway's guilty.
But Mr. Callaway and his lawyers put on no evidence. They call no witnesses. They make no arguments. They don't do anything during this trial. What would you find Mr. Callaway then?
Oh, God.
Guilt.
Okay, so I'm going to try again.
I'm going to try again. The state called all of their witnesses,
put on all of their evidence. You were not convinced that he was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
But he didn't put on a defense. What would you find him?
Not guilty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if I give you enough chances, you'll get it right.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Flowers.
All right.
So the point is, and I'm not saying that his lawyers are going to do that. He's got excellent lawyers. They will ask questions that they feel is appropriate. They will make whatever arguments they feel is appropriate, but they have no obligation. Mr. Callaway has no obligation to put on a defense. Only the state has a burden in this trial. Can everyone follow that instruction? I know it's not this way in every country in the world, right? In a lot of countries in the world, if the government charges you, they throw you in jail. And good luck. You better prove you're not guilty.
It's that way in my house. And I accuse my kids of something, well, better put on a defense, right?
But the rules
change when you walk into a courtroom. And these are the rules we've had in place for 250 years.
And so regardless of how you run your own house
or how other countries run their
government,
this is the way we do it here.
This is the way we do it here, and I need to make sure
everyone can follow that
instruction, correct? Okay. Now,
the burden is on
the state. The standard of proof is different. That is how much evidence, right? They're the ones who have to put on the evidence. How much do they have to put on?
They have to introduce enough evidence to convince you beyond a reasonable
doubt that Mr. Callaway is guilty.
And this is what a reasonable doubt means. Well, before I do that, has anyone here ever served on a civil jury?
Romel's got some form. Yeah, of course. But just you're going to move them on the chart and then we'll tell them. Okay, so who is, let's just move them now. Who is it? We're going to move one of the jurors to a location where we can see him better, since we dismissed one juror. Yeah, number 36, I can never see you. I can actually see him better than her. Yeah, really. But that's okay. You already changed the chart. So, all right, we're moving Mr. Sands to seat number 35. And the chart, you're going to get a chart that has him in the right place. Okay. Now, who here has ever served on a civil jury? I already called on you. I already called on you. Flowers. Mr. Sands, back there. That way he won't feel lonely all the way in the corner. Romel's over two on mic. Robert, Romel's mic's still not working. Hey, Romel, you can steal the states until they're asking questions. They don't need it. Okay. Good morning, Mr. Sands.
Good morning, sir.
Do I have your name right, Sands?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Sands, how long ago did you serve on a civil jury?
I believe it was 2012.
2012. Okay. And was it down at 73 West Flagler?
Correct.
Okay. Do you remember what the case was about?
Some insurance.
Right.
Insurance.
Do you know what was it really about? Oh, you're too far away to see my fingers, right?
A settlement.
No, it was about money, right?
Correct.
Yeah. One side wanted money, the other side didn't want to pay money, right?
Correct.
Okay. That's all they ever argue about was money. So here's my question, and I want you to know this
I
is
want you
my
to know this is my
115th trial. I think only
115th
two
trial.
jurors have
I
ever
think
gotten
only
this
two
right,
jurors
and they
have
were
ever
both
gotten this
lawyers.
right, and they were
So
both
it's a
lawyers.
really hard
So it's a
question.
really hard question.
But what was the burden of proof in that trial? Here it's reasonable doubt. Do you remember what it was
Do you
over
remember
there?
what it was over there?
At the end of the trial, the insurance company, they decided to pay off.
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
just ended
Yeah,
that way.
money. They paid.
Yeah.
Where's Ms.
Money.
Meralda?
They paid- Where's Ms. Meralda?
There she is.
There.
You gotta get this right, Ms.
You
Meralda.
gotta get
You're on
this
the
right, Ms.
spot.
Meralda.
You're a
You're
lawyer.
a lawyer.
What's the burden of
What's the
proof
burden
in a
of proof in
civil
a
trial?
civil trial?
Preponderance of the evidence.
Preponderance of
She's showing
the
off she went
evidence.
to law school.
Showing off, she went to law school.
Thank you, Ms. Meralda.
Hey,
That's right. It's
That's
preponderance of
right,
the
it's
evidence.
preponderance of
because
the evidence.
This is
Because
what preponderance means.
this is what preponderance means.
Just a little bit more than the other side.
The other side.
Whoever has a
Whoever
little
has
bit
a
more
little bit
they
more
win.
evidence,
Either they pay money, they don't have to pay money.
money.
Because they argue about money over there. And theoretically, you can always make more money,
right?
But here,
But
what's at
here,
stake
what's
is
at stake is
someone's liberty.
someone's liberty.
And when a
And when
defendant's
a
liberty is at
liberty
stake,
is at
we
stake,
require more than just a little bit more evidence. We require that the jury be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt, because you can't get back more liberty. You can't make more liberty. So the government cannot take someone's liberty unless they have evidence beyond a reasonable doubt.
This is what reasonable doubt means.
Whenever the words reasonable doubt are used, you must consider the following. A reasonable doubt is not
a mere possible doubt, a speculative, imaginary, or forced doubt.
Such a doubt must not
influence you to return a verdict of not guilty
if you have an abiding conviction of guilt.
On the other hand,
if after carefully considering, comparing,
and
and
weighing all the evidence, there is not an abiding conviction of guilt.
If having a
Or
conviction,
if having
it
a
is one
conviction,
it is one which is
not
not, which
but
wavers and vacillates.
then the charge
is
is not proved beyond every reasonable doubt,
and you must find the
defendant
not guilty because
is
the doubt is reasonable.
So if at the end of this trial, you have an abiding conviction of guilt,
the state has gotten you to that point where you have an abiding conviction that Mr. Calloway is in fact guilty, then you can find him guilty. But if you're having a doubt,
but not just any doubt,
it has to be a reasonable doubt. It cannot be an imaginary or speculative doubt. If you're having a reasonable doubt about whether in fact the state has proven this crime, then you must find him not guilty. Does that make sense?
That makes sense to everyone.
Okay. Now, the state can use any kind of evidence it wants to try to establish Mr. Calloway's guilt. And there are three types of evidence. First, there's testimonial evidence. That is when people walk into a courtroom and they give testimony. They tell you what they heard, what they saw, what they felt about something that occurred outside the courtroom. That can't be brought in here. They can only tell you what their recollection is. That's testimonial evidence. You get that through witnesses. Secondly, there's physical evidence. Physical evidence are things that you can actually bring into this courtroom. Things that when that object is brought into the courtroom, you yourself can see it, touch it, feel it, hear it, depending on what it is. It could be videotape, it could be fingerprints, it could be a weapon if it's that sort of case. It could be a recording. All sorts of things that you yourself get to decide what it looks like, feels like, sounds like, as opposed to someone else telling you, which is testimony. That's physical evidence. The third kind of evidence is circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence is nothing that anyone can tell you or show you because it doesn't exist per se. It is just that you know how the world works and you can make certain assumptions about things. So for example, let's assume there were no windows in my courtroom, when you're there tomorrow, you'll see there are no windows. If during one of the breaks you walk outside and you see puddles everywhere and water on all the cars and water dripping off of the awning. You didn't have to see it rain. You know it rained. Nobody had to come in and testify it rained. Nobody had to come and rain you drops of water. You know what happened. You know what happened. You know the way the world works. Inferences about what occurred. That is circumstantial evidence. The state can use any kind of evidence it wants. It can use just testimonial evidence if it wants to. It can bring only physical or only circumstantial evidence. All three, two of them. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter how many witnesses they call or how many exhibits they use. What matters at the end of the day is when you take all of the evidence together and then you decide, have I been convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Calloway is guilty or not? If you have, you can find him guilty. If you have not been convinced, regardless of how many exhibits, how many witnesses, then you must find him not guilty. This is what the law says. Whether the state has met its burden of proof does not depend upon the number of witnesses it has called, or upon the number of exhibits it has offered, but instead upon the nature and quality of the evidence presented. Still don't have a chart.
So I'm going to pick on you.
So I'm going to pick on you because you laughed.
For me not having
a chart. Juror number 36. What's your name, ma'am? Michelle. Well, what's your last name? Munoz. Ms. Munoz. Let's assume this. I read a list. I want to say there's about 22 witnesses on it. If the state calls all 22 of those witnesses, does that fact that they called 22 Mr. Callaway's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt? Would you like to hear from the witnesses? Hear from the witnesses first. Okay. Could it be that they call? Let's say they call one of those witnesses. They decide we're not going to call one. We're going to call one. But I want you, folks, you're going to get this asked question a bunch of times. You're going to fight this answer because you're going to say one witness. Boy, it's got to be really hard to convince that one witness that someone's guilty. But assume for a moment that one witness does convince you that Mr. Callaway's guilty. If the witness convinces you beyond a reasonable doubt that he's guilty, can you find him guilty? Yes. And the law says yes, you can. Because the law says it doesn't matter how many witnesses you call. Doesn't matter how many witnesses the state calls. What matters is what is the quality of the testimony that's given, and do you find it credible? And if you find it credible, does it convince you he's guilty? They don't have an obligation to call 2 witnesses or 10 witnesses. That's an artificial requirement. That would be a requirement you have, and that's okay if you have that requirement. But we need to know that because both sides are entitled to a fair trial. So is there anyone here? You can take them. Thank you, Ms. Munoz. Is there anyone here who will tell me, well, if it's only one witness, I don't care if it is the Pope or my own mother. If it is one witness, even if they convince me beyond a reasonable doubt, I will find Mr. Callaway not guilty, even though I believe he's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Is there anyone that feels that way? There are some people who say, no, one witness, I don't care who it is. Could have been my own son who comes in and testifies about it. I will never convict someone on one witness, regardless of what the law says. Is there anyone who feels that? No hands. Okay. Now I have a chart. So now I can pick on randomly. Let's start with Mr. Rodriguez, number 24. Ms. Rodriguez, shoot. Let's fix our map. Number 24 is Ms. Rodriguez. Sorry, Ms. Rodriguez. I wasn't looking up. I was only looking at the chart. So Ms. Rodriguez, the state introduces fingerprints. Let's say they introduce some fingerprints. Does that prove Mr. Callaway's guilty? Looking at him is not going to change your answer.
Fingerprints are unique to the person.
But Ms. Rodriguez,
So,
whose fingerprints are they?
but if do we know that that's the only thing around? We need to know more.
Yes, you do. Question number 1. Would you like to know whose fingerprints they are? Right? Right? Just the fact that the state introduces fingerprints, that doesn't prove anyone's guilty of anything, right?
It has to be proven that those
Right. Now, would you like to know where they were found?
and where they were found.
Right? Because if you find them on a lunch counter where 10,000 people have been at McDonald's, right? It may not prove anything about this crime. You don't know what the crime is, right? Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Rodriguez. So that's the point I'm trying to make. If the state introduces fingerprints, maybe it proves something. Maybe it doesn't. You're supposed to weigh it with all the other evidence they have in the case, and then decide, has the state proven their case beyond a reasonable doubt or not? Can all of you do that? Okay. Last fundamental issue. In any criminal trial anywhere in the United States. And this rule is so fundamental that it was written into the Constitution as the Fifth Amendment to the Bill of Rights. I've already told you Mr. Callaway is to be presumed innocent unless the state can prove he's guilty. And he has no obligation to put on a defense. But this last rule goes even further. Not only does he not have to put on a defense, Mr. Callaway has the right not to testify if he chooses not to. And you cannot hold it against him in any way if he makes that decision. This is what the law says. From the exercise of a defendant's right to remain silent, a jury is not permitted to draw any inference of guilt. And the fact that a defendant did not take the witness stand must not influence your verdict in any manner whatsoever. So let's start with Ms. Barwick.
Good morning, Ms. Barwick.
Ms. Barwick.
If Mr. Callaway does not testify, are you going to hold that against him?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Braceno, all the way over there. We have a weird layout here. Mr. Braceno, if Mr. Callaway chooses not to take the stand, are you going to assume he's guilty of something? No. Thank you very much, sir. Ms. Green. Good morning, Ms. Green. If Mr. Callaway doesn't testify, are you going to assume that he must be guilty of something?
No.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Ms. Budagavoli. If Mr. Callaway doesn't testify, are you going to hold that against him?
No.
Okay. Ms. Criado. If Mr. Callaway doesn't testify, are you going to hold that against him?
No.
Okay. Ms. Delara. If Mr. Callaway doesn't testify, are you going to assume he must be hiding something?
No.
Okay. Ms. Donnie? How do you pronounce it? How do you pronounce it? Deny? Deny?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to deny.
Spell that out. This is
Are you
denied.
going to consider it in
Are
any
you going
way
to
Mr.
consider it
Callaway
in any
chooses
way
not to
not?
testify? Thank you, ma'am.
Ms.
Ms. Echevarria,
Echevarria,
if
if Mr. Callaway doesn't testify, are you going to take that into consideration?
No.
No?
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
All right.
All right.
I don't
I don't
want to
want to
go
go
through every single person
that's here. I think you all get the point.
I'm going to go
I'm going to go
section by
section by section.
and the way we're going to do it is
We're
in
gonna
three
do it in
sections. I'm
three
going to start with the left side of the room,
Left side of the
middle
room,
side of the room,
middle
and then
side
the
of the
right side
room,
of
and
the
then the
room.
right side of the
I'm
room.
going to ask
I'm
you
going to
the
ask you
question.
the question.
Folks, if
Folks,
you cannot set aside the fact that
that
Mr. Callaway may not testify, if he chooses not to testify, and you're going to consider that in some way, please speak up.
Speak
He's
up.
got the
He's got the right
to have
to
his trial
have his trial
conducted the way the
conducted
Constitution requires. And if you can't do it for whatever reason,
that's okay.
okay.
You just need to tell us. So is
So
there anyone in this
section of the room? I think I can see
I can see
everybody
everybody now
now. That will hold it
that will
against
hold it against
Mr.
Mr. Callaway and will take it into consideration if he
chooses
chooses not to testify.
If you're not going to, just shake your head. Right, or yell out.
Or yell out
I'll
no.
take either
I'll
one.
take either one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So there was no one on the left
No
side.
one on the left side.
Middle side of the room.
Middle
If
side of the
Mr.
room.
Callaway
If
doesn't
Mr. Callaway
testify,
doesn't
is there anyone
testify,
who's going to
then
take that into consideration? You can shake your head, you can nod. I just got to be able to see everybody move. The gentleman with the laptop, I couldn't see
I
you.
couldn't see you.
Right. So speak up. Wait. When I get your mic,
then you can speak up.
Someone not want to speak on their behalf of a case, so I would.
You would
hold it against.
No, I wouldn't, but I would take it into consideration.
So
I see it both ways.
okay, but how can you take it into consideration? You think it's strange and not be holding it against him? I'm trying to figure out then how do you take it into consideration?
Speaker, maybe maybe it would work against them. I don't know. That would because I was listening, but I wouldn't just flatly say, oh well, if he doesn't testify, then hey.
So if I tell you the law says you can't.
That's what the law says.
I know, but can I finish the question though?
Sure.
All right,
thank you.
And I'm sorry, by the way, I didn't get
your name.
Charles, last name.
Mr. C?
Mhm.
Okay, so Mr. C. So if I give you an instruction, which I will if you're on this jury, that says you can't consider it in any way whatsoever, you can now follow that instruction, correct?
That instruction, correct?
I can follow the law. So I would say that I would not take it into consideration.
You'll say it, but do you
Say it,
believe
but you leave it.
I believe it.
Okay,
All right, thank you, Mr. C.
Okay, Anyone else in this section feel that way also? That you're going to consider it? No, everyone else, you definitely can follow my instruction. Okay, right side of the room.
Is there anyone over there that will take it into consideration if
Callaway chooses not to testify?
testify?
I think I can see everyone, right? Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Now, is anyone curious what the charges are against Mr. Callaway? Now you're scared to be curious. You can be curious. It's okay to be curious. I'm going to tell you what they are. So is anyone curious what they are? Why you're here? Good, it's all right to be curious. Does anyone have a theory why I haven't told you what the charges are yet? We've been talking now for about almost 50 minutes. And we've talked about everything except why we're here. Anyone have a theory why I'm waiting till now to tell you? And I am going to tell you what the charges are. No theories? Oh, there we go. The gentleman right behind you, Mr. Rommel. Mr. Rommel.
That is Mr. Kennedy?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Kennedy.
Okay,
Why
good
do you
morning, Mr.
think I
Kennedy. Why do
waited
you
till
think I
now?
waited till now?
Well, you need to make sure that we can follow the letter of the law before you tell accusation.
Very
That's
good.
exactly right, Mr.
That's
Kennedy.
exactly right, Mr.
First, I
Kennedy.
wanted to make sure.
First,
you
I
could
wanted
follow
to
the
make sure you
law.
could follow the law.
And another part of the answer is,
doesn't matter.
Let me ask you, Mr. Kennedy, if
Mr.
Mr. Callaway is charged with stealing a pack of gum, does the state have to, do they get to lower their burden and have less evidence? It's not that
It's
serious.
not that.
You still have,
They still have to prove it.
beyond a reasonable doubt. Yeah.
Exactly right.
Exactly
It
right.
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what the charges are.
It's all the rules
I've just been giving you. It's irrelevant.
The charges are. Remember at the beginning I told you, it doesn't matter who the defendant is, who the
victims are. None of that matters.
None of that matters.
It also doesn't matter what the
charges are.
All the
All the rules remain the same.
regardless of what someone has been charged with.
However,
I'm
I'm
not completely unrealistic. I know that there are things in people's backgrounds that the charges can affect their ability to be fair in a particular case. This happens a lot when I try cases involving animal cruelty. And Mr. Callaway is not charged with animal cruelty. But I'll sit here and I'll have this discussion with you for almost an hour. Everyone tells me they can follow the law. And then I tell them, well, the defendant has been charged with hurting a dog. Well, you didn't say it was a dog. I mean, that changes everything, right? Because we generally treat animals sometimes better than humans. So people decide, I can't be fair, it involved a dog, right? If it was a person, okay, we can talk. So that's why I tell you what the charges are, so that you can tell me if there's anything in your background. Now, I know I know there's only 4 of you who weren't here on Zoom. The rest of you, I think I cleared this with you, but I'm going to tell you the charges. And then what I want is, if there's anything you want to talk about privately, whether it be the charges or anything else, raise your hand and we're going to go into another courtroom later and we'll talk about it. If you have any questions that you'd rather not ask in front of someone, raise your hand. If you have some doubt about whether you can be fair, or you have some experience in your background that you think is affected, that would affect your consideration of these charges, raise your hand. Any reason you want to talk to us privately, raise your hand. So Mr. Callaway has been charged. He has 4 charges that the state has filed. 3 of them are sexual battery charges. The allegations are all in one event, but the law does break down according to what sexual organs are charged. So he has been charged with sexual battery by mouth, by vagina, and by anus. So it's 3 counts of sexual battery, and the 4th count is kidnapping. Right? So now that you've heard the charges, is there anyone that wants to talk about anything in private? Just raise your hands. I'm in particular, the 4 people who were not on Zoom. If you have ever, if you, a family member or a close friend has ever been the victim of a crime involving sex or accused of a crime involving sex, I definitely want you to raise your hand so we can talk about that privately about that, because I already discussed all that with the other jurors on Zoom. Is there anyone that has anything they want to talk to us privately about? It could be anything. So Mr. Hold on, I lost my chart for a moment. You are
Cunningham.
You are Mr. Cunningham, number 34. Thank you, sir. I'll take you. We'll go into the other courtroom soon. Okay. Anyone else? There's a lady standing up, Ramel. I don't know what she needs. Yeah. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I don't really understand the charge.
Okay, and you are Ms.
Dora. Third person.
Ms. Persico?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay, great.
So the charge is sexual battery. I will explain in detail at the end of the case what the state has to prove, but I will tell you, the elements are that someone's sexual organ has come into contact with someone else's sexual organ without their consent. So it can be a man's penis. The allegations here are penis touching the alleged victim's mouth, the alleged victim's vagina, and the alleged victim's anus. And then a separate charge of kidnapping. Okay, and I will explain in detail to you the elements if you're on the jury at the end of the case. They'll be in writing. You'll be able to take them with you into the jury room. Okay, anyone else needs to talk to us privately about anything involving the charges or anything else? You are Ms. Howell, number 32, Ms. Howell, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Howell. Anyone else? Okay. Now, One more thing before I talk to you about your questionnaires, and I'll go through all of your questionnaires individually. Some of the names I read to you of potential witnesses are police officers in this case that will testify. When I talk to jurors about police officers, I find that they break down into three distinct groups. So this group here on my left says, if someone testifies and they're a police officer, I am more likely to believe them than I am someone who's not a police officer. Just because they're a police officer, they don't even have to say a word. They're a police officer. I believe them more than I do people who are not police officers. Then I have this group on my right who's the exact opposite. If someone's a police officer and is testifying before they've ever said a word, I am less likely to believe them than I am someone who's not a police officer. And then the group in the middle here is the one that can follow the law on this subject. The law on this subject is very simple. The law says the fact that a witness is employed in law enforcement does not mean that his or her testimony deserves more or less consideration than that of any other witness. The law recognizes police officers are human beings. Human beings tell the truth. Human beings sometimes lie. There are good human beings, there are bad human beings, there are good cops, there are bad cops. By the way, there are good judges and there are bad judges. Everyone should be treated the same because anyone can lie to you or tell you the truth. So the group in the middle tells me, I'm going to treat a police officer like I would anyone else. I will hear them out. And I will tell you that part of the instructions I will give you in this case is that you as the jurors, remember I said you are the judges of the facts. You get to decide who you believe and who you don't. You can believe everything any witness tells you. You can believe nothing of what they tell you. You can believe some of it and disregard other parts. You are solely the judges of the credibility of the witnesses. And you decide what the facts are. And so you can do that after you've heard their testimony. What you cannot, you can do it, but you can't be on the jury. Is decide, based on the job, I'm more likely to believe you, I'm less likely to believe you because you don't even have to open your mouth. You don't even have to open your mouth. That's not right. And that's against the law. To stand, they get to testify, and then you decide how credible they are. How credible based on their testimony, not on the job they do. So I need to know if anyone falls into this group, you are more likely to believe an officer before they've ever testified just because they're an officer, or this group, you're less likely to believe them just because they're police officers before they've ever said a word. Anybody fall into either of these groups, raise your hand. If you don't raise your hand, you're telling me treat them as you will any other. Listen to them and then you will decide whether officers are credible or not. Is there anyone who falls into one of the first two groups? Some of you I know are married to cops. Some of you work for the police department, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you have to necessarily believe a police officer. It all depends on your experience. But even though you work for them, I will treat them like I would anyone else. Correct? No hand. Nobody wants to raise their hand. Okay. Let me go through your questionnaire. And some of you, like I said, I won't have any questions for. So don't take it personally. All I'm doing is filling in some blanks. Ramel? This is not my highlighted one. All right. I'll just go through it. I highlighted all the things I wanted to talk to them about. Okay. So let's start with Ms. Barwick. You told me about someone in your family that was arrested that the state back in 2001, the state decided not to prosecute. I just need to know what the charge would have been if there had been a prosecution. Okay. And how did you feel about the way they were treated?
By the rent-a-car company upset.
Sure.
We delivered. It was put in their system after the fact.
Right, but was that here in Miami?
Yes.
Okay, so this person would not have been prosecuted. If they had been prosecuted, it would have been by the office that these three lawyers work for. But it was their office that decided not to prosecute. Are you able to be fair to both sides, even though that person went through that experience?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. And I think that was my only question. Okay. Mr. Brisano. Good morning, sir. Morning, sir. Sir, you told me about someone that was arrested, but they were not found guilty. How long ago was that?
Actually, it was myself.
Yeah,
I know, but I don't out people unless they want to out themselves.
So since I knew it was
So
you,
since I knew it was you, I didn't
okay.
have to ask. Okay.
I already know.
I already know the charge.
You're welcome to say it
You're
or
welcome
not.
to say it or not. It's fine with me either way.
It was bad.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So did
So did you actually go to trial?
We actually spoke with the
Prosecutors?
the state.
Okay.
They figured it out because there was nothing to say that I was actually involved into that type
Was it
of
here in
crime.
Miami?
Was it here in Miami?
Okay. And what year was
And
that?
what year was that?
It was actually last year.
Oh, last year. Okay.
So
Usually I say
these
lawyers weren't involved.
They might have been.
They might have been. I don't know. They were
definitely
definitely at the office.
But can you say, did you feel you were
Did you treated fairly?
I did not.
Okay. Who did you feel treated you unfairly? Don't say the judge. Don't say the judge.
The police. That's fine. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Are you able to set aside
Are
the
you
way
able
that
to
you
set
feel
aside
about
the
those
way that you feel about those
and look at
police
the officers who
officers
testified
and
in
look
this
at the officers
case
who
and judge
testified
them
in this
based on
case
whatever
and judge
happens
them
in this
based on whatever happened?
Well, I tried to explain what's going on to the officer when I had the problem. They didn't want to listen.
Right.
They didn't want to listen to my side, so that's why in jail I told them, I didn't do anything, but they kept saying that it was my fault. So that's okay. As soon as I get into the jail, I was getting a lawyer, and then it took for my case to be dismissed.
Art, can you
Okay.
set aside
Art,
what
can you
happened
set
to
aside
in
what
that
happened
case?
to you in that
And
case?
decide this
And
case
decide this case only on the evidence that's presented in the courtroom.
No?
No.
So
what does that mean? What are you going to do with what happened to you? How is it going to affect you in this trial?
Well, right now, for example, if we're talking about the same thing, right? I don't have any evidence of anything, information to say that whether this person is guilty or not. If that's the question, because I might not.
No.
follow up.
What I'm asking you
you had an experience with these officers.
You didn't think they treated
You didn't think they treated you fairly.
And then the court
And then the court system, I guess,
treated
treated you better. They
They
dismissed the charges.
Can you set aside what happened to you
and decide the case
on the evidence in this courtroom?
Yes,
Yeah,
okay,
so
that's what I needed to know. Thank you, man. Thank you, sir.
All right,
All right, Ms. Green,
you told me about
you told me about a family member who was
arrested.
arrested.
Incarcerated,
Yeah.
Do you want to talk
Do you
about
want
it
to talk
privately
about
or
it
do you want to talk
privately, or
about
do you
it
want to
here?
talk about it here?
Okay, what's the charge? I couldn't.
The charge, I couldn't tell. It said something about fostering, but I didn't understand what that meant.
It was a murder,
It was a murder?
right? A crime that he didn't commit, but they evicted him anyway. So he's still dead over 30 years, and the state still won't let him out.
Okay.
Prosecutors just have it in for him.
What's your cousin's name?
Thomas James.
Okay.
And was he
convicted here in Miami?
Okay. So obviously you
So
don't think
obviously you don't think that
state attorney's office
the state attorney's office that these lawyers work for are doing the right
thing.
thing in your cousin's case,
Can you
right?
set aside the way you
Can you
feel
set
about the way they
aside
treated your
your
cousin and decide this case
only on the evidence in this
court?
courtroom? If you can't, that's okay.
That's
You
okay.
can
You
tell
can
us.
tell us.
Me personally, that the state failed him, so I'm quite sure they probably will fail him.
Okay.
But I guess. I try.
So
Ms. Green, I want you to, let me ask you this question. If I was going on a trip
and
I'm
saying goodbye to my wife at the door, and I asked her,
are you going to
honey,
be
are you
faithful
gonna
to me while I'm gone? And she says,
I'm
gonna try.
I think maybe. No, I don't think I'm leaving. I think I'm gonna stay home.
How long you gonna be gone?
I don't think it matters how long I'm gonna be gone. I don't think I'm gonna be gone at all. So my point is,
I can set aside the difference from them, because everybody have the right of innocence, and they have a right to be hurt. So if he's guilty, I'm gonna tell him I'm gonna say guilty. If he's innocent, he'll be innocent.
Okay, all right. Thank you,
I
Ms.
have an
Green.
open mind.
all right, thank you very much. That's what I needed. Listen, it's okay to say I think so if that's the answer. The problem is sometimes it's just the way we speak, right? When we're being informal and I'll ask a question, you'll mean to say yes, but you'll say, yeah, I think so. And you use that word think. The problem is, I didn't introduce Gail. Gail, I'm sorry. Gail is sitting here in the front with that machine that looks like a typewriter.
It's not a typewriter. It's not a typewriter.
And she's writing
down everything we say.
So someday, if there's a need to write all this up, all they'll see is that you said, I think so. So it sounds like you weren't really.
It sounds like you weren't really definitive that you could be fair to
So
both
if
sides.
You're really
So
not sure.
if
You can say,
you're
"I
really
think
not
I
sure,
can,
you
I'm
can
not
say, I
sure."
think I
But if the
can,
answer is
I'm not
yes, just
sure.
say yes.
But if the answer
right?
is
That's
yes,
what I'm
just-
asking my wife.
that's what I'm
You know, if
asking
it's
my
yes,
wife.
say yes, and if it's no,
Yes,
say no. But
yes,
don't
and if
tell
it's
me
no,
I'm
say
not
no,
sure.
but don't tell me I'm not
All right?
sure.
So, and that's because.
All right, so, and that's
Gail
because.
can only write down exactly
Gail
what
needs,
you
can
say.
only write down
Right.
exactly what you say. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Ms.
very
Green.
much, Ms. Green.
Ms.
Ms.
Butacavoli.
Butacavoli.
Now, what
Now,
is
what is your son's name as a
professional golfer?
professional golfer?
Michael Butacavoli?
Michael Butacavoli?
I don't follow golf.
I don't
so-
follow golf. So
But I still thought it was
But
pretty
I still
cool
thought it
that
was
he's
pretty
a
cool that
professional
he's a
golfer.
professional golfer.
Now you told me about
Now,
a
you
family
told me
member
about
that was
a family member
arrested.
that was
And you told me
arrested,
for
and
what?
you told me
When
for
was
what?
it?
When was it?
I don't remember being arrested.
Do you want me to tell
Do
you
you
who
want
it
me to
was?
tell you who it was?
Or we can talk about
Or
it.
we
It's
can
your
talk
uncle.
about it. It's your uncle.
Oh, yes. This was about, it was in 1989,
Okay.
and he was falsifying,
Currency. You told me it was forged
Currency.
currency.
You told me it was forged
Currency.
currency.
Was it in state court or
Was
federal
it in
court?
state court or federal court?
I don't
You
know.
didn't attend the
You
trial?
didn't attend the trial?
Did you
No,
know
did
anything
not.
about the
Did you
case?
know
other
anything
than
about
he
the
was
case
arrested?
other than he was arrested?
That's right.
Do you have any opinions?
Do you
on
have
the
any
way he was
opinions on the
treated?
way he was treated?
None.
All right.
All right.
Is there anything about
his case that will keep you from being fair to both sides in this case?
No.
And you indicated right now you're
unemployed,
unemployed, but you used to be a consultant. What kind of
I
consultant?
am a consultant.
Oh,
now.
sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe when you filled this out, you were
yeah.
between jobs. I don't know.
Jobs. I don't-
But what kind of consultant
are you?
Government consulting.
Okay, nothing in the criminal
No,
field?
just zoning and
Gotcha.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms.
Ms.
Criado.
Criado, good morning. I do not have any questions for you. Thank you.
Ms. Delara.
I don't have any questions for you either. Thank you. Ms. Deny, did I say it right? Deny. I have no questions for you. Thank you. Ms. Echevarria. You told me about your brother-in-law that was the victim of a crime.
Yes,
Was anyone arrested?
yeah, they're in jail. They went, I didn't attend, but I know because my sister told me, because I work in the morning, so I
Right.
couldn't attend. And they are in.
Okay. Is there anything about that case, what happened to your brother-in-law, that will keep you from being fair to both sides in this case?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Echevarria. Ms. Etienne.
Ms. Etienne, good morning. I do not have any questions. Thank you. Ms. Flowers. Good morning again. You told me about your brother was the victim of a crime.
Yeah.
You said it was a conspiracy. What kind of conspiracy?
I believe it was like drug charges.
Okay. You think someone planted drugs on him? Is that what you mean?
No, that's not.
I'm not sure.
You're not sure. Okay. And then you told me about a charge, one of your family members. Do you want to talk about that privately here? I just need to know where, whether there was a trial, things like that.
No, I know myself, but I don't remember about my.
That's it. That's the one I'm
Okay.
asking about. I'm trying not to
Okay,
out you.
I don't mind. I don't mind. Yeah, it was
Okay.
myself.
How long ago was that?
That was in 2001.
Okay.
Was it here in
Here in
Miami?
Miami?
Yes.
And how was the case resolved?
It was fair. They threw it out.
Oh, it was, okay, it was dismissed?
It was dismissed.
The office that handled that.
The office that
prosecution's
handled
the
that,
same office these
prosecution is the
lawyers
same
work
office
for.
these lawyers work
It was
for.
not them, I guarantee.
It was
you,
not
in
them, I
2001.
guarantee. 2001.
And how do you feel about
the way that you were treated by the criminal justice system?
I mean, I was treated fairly because they threw it out. And,
Okay. Are you able to set aside what happened to you and decide this case only on the evidence in this courtroom?
Yes, sir.
You can be fair to both
I
sides.
can be fair to both sides.
Thank you, Ms. Flowers.
Thank you, Ms. Flowers. Mr. Fruciano.
Good morning, sir.
You told me about being the victim of a crime. Did we talk about that on
Yes.
Zoom?
Yes,
We did,
we
right?
did,
I thought
John.
we did.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. And you wrote down that a neighbor
you
of
wrote
yours
down
is a
that a
family
neighbor
court
of
judge or
yours is a
was?
family court judge or was?
Yes. Yeah, he was. He's actually recently.
Who's that?
Who's that?
Henry Harnage.
Oh, yeah, sure, Mr.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Judge Harnage.
Judge Harnage.
Okay.
Okay.
And then you
And
told me
then
about.
you told me about
two family members.
two family members.
Let me start with the
Let me
female
start with the
one.
female one.
When was she arrested?
She arrested.
Oh gosh, it's just been over and over again.
Oh,
Oh.
She has a drug and alcohol problem.
but she's
But
a
she's
former
a
family
former
member.
family
She's
member.
my brother.
Okay. Have you ever gone to court with her?
court
Do you have any opinions on the way she's been treated by the court system?
treated by the court system?
Probably yes, I do. Been treated-
All right. Anything about her experiences that will keep you from being fair to both sides?
here.
No, Your Honor.
All right. And then
All right, and then the
mail,
mail,
when was that?
when
arrest?
was that arrest?
Around the same.
And same lady? With the
With
same
the
lady?
same lady?
My brother.
No, but I'm saying, was she involved in the case?
Yes.
Okay. Did you go to court with him?
No, I did not.
Do you have opinions on the way he was treated?
Yes, I did.
And what's that opinion?
Very unfair.
Okay. It was here in Miami?
No, sir, it was in Wyoming.
Okay. So can you set aside the way he was treated?
The way he was treated, that you believe was unfairly, and decide this case only on the evidence in this courtroom?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Ms.
Amara, did I pronounce that right?
Okay.
Okay, good morning.
Don't have any questions. Thank you. I'm going to do that to you over and over and over.
And over again.
Ms. Gottlieb.
Ms.
I
Gottlieb.
have my highlighted
If I
one.
had
I
my
go
highlighted
quicker,
one,
but I
I'd
don't know
go
what happened
quicker,
to
but
it.
I don't know what happened to it.
I don't have any questions for you, Ms.
I don't have any
Gottlieb.
questions for you, Ms. Gottlieb. Thank you.
Mr. Hills.
Mr. Hill.
All right.
All right, you have a lot of information.
So
So
let me go
through
through your
children
and what they do.
and what they do.
Your oldest child.
Your
has
oldest
she always
child,
worked in the home?
has she always worked in the home?
No, she worked before. She
What
was,
did she do?
She do.
she worked for educational institution.
Okay. And what kind of investigator are you? Excellent is the answer you should get. Excellent.
What
What kind of investigations do you do?
I do financial investigations. I assist, I'm retired.
Yeah, We're gonna get to that.
Yeah, we're gonna get to
Okay,
that.
But so you're still doing
Okay,
that sort of
but
work?
so
but
you're
doing
still
it
doing that
privately
sort of
now?
work, but you're doing it privately now? How's it?
On a,
And your daughter who's 26, what kind of administrative coordinator is she?
she works for a medical practice.
Great. And the rest of them are
Clear. You have two daughters who are writers.
two daughters who are writers. I have one who's trying to be a writer.
That's
So we have that in common.
Right.
Now, you worked for the Treasury Department. I am assuming you,
That was to conduct, was it all civil?
was it all
claims or
civil
was it also
claims or was it
criminal?
also
No,
criminal?
that's criminal. That was a
Okay.
criminal investigation.
Okay, got it. Are
Are
you able to
be fair to both sides, even though you, I'm
I'm
assuming,
have almost always testified for the government? Have you ever testified for a defendant?
I have testified. For
Okay.
defense.
Can you be fair to
Right,
both
can you be fair to
in
both
this?
sides in this trial?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then you just
you
said
you have many friends who are involved in law enforcement. If the officers testify in this case,
Maybe there's one or more of them
that you don't believe are credible, are you able to discount their testimony if you don't find it to be credible?
Yes.
Okay.
And
then you told me
you
about-
just told
you
me a
just-
family member was arrested. So do you
Arrested.
want to talk about
So
that
do you want to
privately?
talk about that privately?
I'm gonna
I'm gonna need to know who, for what, when.
But we can talk about it
About
privately.
here. Whichever you prefer.
All right.
I'm fine either way. It's really your.
It's really your
preference.
preference.
I'll talk about it
That's fine.
privately.
That's fine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Mr.
very much, Mr. Okay.
Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Johnson. There. Good morning, Mr. Johnson.
Good morning, Madam.
Okay, you told me about someone who was
Okay,
arrested.
someone who was arrested, you told me for what? I just need to know the
years.
years and the location.
In, I want to say 2004, 5, around then.
That's fine.
The other one was in Miami in around 2000.
Great. All right.
Do you have any
opinions on the way this person was treated?
No, I mean, barely.
Barely.
Anything about those experiences that will keep you from being fair to both
Experiences
sides?
aside.
No.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Kennedy. There we go.
I don't have any
I
questions.
don't have any questions. Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Ms. Mikeisa? Good morning.
You ready,
Ready,
Ramel?
Ramel? Yeah, I don't have any questions. All right, Ms. Maldonado. Right over here. I don't have any questions for her. That's all right. Actually, I'm sorry, I do. I have one. I need your son who's 24, Martin. You said he's an analyst. What kind of analyst?
What kind of analyst?
He's an a bank with a
bank?
Japanese bank. Mhm.
Great, thank you very much. Ms. Meralda, good morning. All the way over there. Ms. Meralda, have you ever practiced criminal law?
No.
All right. You indicated you have friends who are both defense lawyers and state attorneys. Are you able to set aside any stories they've told you, any of their experiences, and be fair to both sides?
Yes.
And then you told me about your family member that was arrested. I need to know for what it was, what the crime was.
It was.
And we can talk about it privately if you want.
It was a conspiracy to commit wire fraud.
Was it here in Miami?
Yeah, but at the federal level.
Right. Yeah, I was about to just confirm that it was federal. Okay. Any opinions on the way she was treated? Did you attend the trial? You attend the trial?
I didn't.
Okay. Anything about her experiences that will keep you from being fair to both sides?
No.
Thank you very much, Ms. Meralda. Ms. Nodarzi. Ms. Nodarzi. Good morning. Good morning. What is a what do you referee? Because there are legal referees and there are sports referees. I'm not sure which is yours.
Soccer.
Soccer.
Competitive soccer.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That was my only question. Ms. Potter. Good morning. I think I don't have any questions. I do not. Thank you. Mr. Radney. Morning. You were the guy who was upside down most of the time, right? Yeah. Good seeing you right side up. Good seeing you right side up. So you told me you have your brother who passed away was a police officer in DC?
Yeah.
Right. Are you able to treat the police officers here as you would any other witness?
Yeah.
Are you able to be fair to both sides? Thank you, Mr. Radney. Ms. Real. Good morning. I do not have any questions for Ms. Real. Ms. Rodriguez. Good morning. So your spouse is a police officer?
Was a police officer.
Oh, was. With what agency?
What?
What agency? Who did he work for?
Oh, city.
Okay. And are you able to treat the officers that will testify in this case as you would any other witness?
So.
So I don't know. Does that mean you think that they're more
80%,
likely to lie or less likely?
80% against, 20% in favor.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
80% in favor.
So you're 80% against police officers?
What happened? Well, if I have to say, he was fired from the police.
Okay.
They say that he wasn't not able to communicate. And when he was exposed, he was supposed to be exposed to the evidence. The tape were burned by lightning, they said.
All right. So let me start with
So
this.
he was not exposed. And we went, and it was a direct verdict instead of using the jury that was already chosen and everything to decide. So it was not fair.
Okay. So let me say this. There will be no police officers from Hialeah that will testify in this case.
Okay.
So we'll set that aside. If there are any officers that testify, they're all City of Miami police.
No, I'm not. I don't have anything against police officer, against those.
That's my question to you. Can you set aside what happened there and decide this case only on what
I will.
What the state can prove occurred here? Yes. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Ms. Persico. Good morning. I do not have any questions. Thank you. Mr. Simpson. I can't see it. Where is it? Oh, there you are. Good morning. Good morning. You said your mother was a police officer? What agency does she work for?
Sumter County. She
did.
She's retired now.
In Massachusetts?
Florida.
Did you say Suffolk County? Yeah.
Sumter.
Okay. Sumter. Okay. I was going to say Suffolk. I knew is got it.
Is she retired now?
Is she retired now? Are you able to treat the officers here? Can you consider their testimony as you would anyone else's?
I will. I'll be very fair.
And can you be fair to both sides?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Solis. Oh, there you are. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
You told me about a family. Well, let's start with you work for the Miami-Dade Police Department. You work for Miami-Dade Police Department.
Yes, sir.
There may be. Is anyone testifying from the Miami Police Department? Mr.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought maybe there
Yeah,
might
I
be
thought
some
maybe there might be some crime scene analyst type people that will testify from that department.
You work with HR, if I remember correctly?
No, report specialist.
Specialist.
Who do you work with?
Do you work with any of the officers
directly?
I work with the uniform crime reporting.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you ever work with
do you ever-
anyone from the crime lab?
Not at all, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
There
May be some folks from the crime lab that come in and testify.
Are you able to
Are you able to consider their testimony as you would anyone else?
Okay. And if they
And
testify to something that you don't accept, you don't think it's credible for some reason,
for some reason,
are you able to say, even though I work for that, to ignore that testimony because I don't find it credible
for whatever reason?
I'm neutral.
Okay.
Okay.
And you can be
fair to both sides?
Yes,
Right,
sir.
you told me you
Right,
have
you
a
told me you have a
family member that was
family
arrested,
member that was-
and you just told me it was a misdemeanor charge. Do you want to talk about it privately, or do you want to tell
No, at the
me?
beginning was a felony,
Right?
but the bail officer and they say they lowered the charges.
Okay.
So I really don't know. I know the charges is a simple battery on a walk-in house security at the train station,
Okay.
but I really didn't get
And is
involved.
that case over?
And is that case over?
All right.
It is.
How long ago was it?
How long ago was it?
I think it was last year.
All
or
right, and it was
beginning
here
of
in
this
Miami,
year.
right? At Metro.
Yes, the one, yeah,
All right,
right
so
on Miami.
It was the
It was
office
the office
that these three lawyers who you cannot see
work.
Right. Have you seen?
sir.
Have you seen any of them?
I saw them in
You saw them on Zoom. Okay.
Okay.
It was their office. Do you feel your brother was treated fairly?
I didn't go to any trial. I
You
didn't
don't-
get involved at all.
You have no opinion. Okay.
No, sir.
Are you able to be fair
Are
to
you able
both
to be
sides,
fair to
even though
both sides, even though
your
your
brother
brother went through that?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Zafar. Good morning, Ms. Zafar. Where does your cousin work as a police officer?
Miami-Dade Police Department.
Okay. So a lot of the same questions. I don't think you're not going to see any officers from Miami-Dade testify, but there may be some from the crime lab, some analysts. Are you able to treat them as you would any other witness?
Listen and accept what you find credible and reject what you don't find credible.
Yes.
All right. And you said your uncle works in the court system in what capacity?
He's in the federal court.
Sorry, he's in
the what?
The federal court?
Okay, but what does he do there?
I'm not sure.
Fair. My kids don't know what I do either. I tell them I'm a YouTube star, they don't believe me.
They don't believe me.
Okay. Are you able to set aside the fact that your cousin is a law enforcement officer and your uncle works in some unknown capacity for the federal government? It's probably in the CIA.
And be fair to both sides?
Fair to both
Okay,
sides?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Miss Bustamante.
There he is. Good morning, Mr.
There he is.
Bustamante.
Good morning, Mr. Bustamante.
I don't have any
I don't have
questions.
any questions for you.
Thank you for getting there
Thank you for
quickly.
getting there quickly.
Ramel. Mr. Castro.
Castro.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
You told me about
You
somebody
told me
that
about
was
somebody that
arrested.
was
You told me
arrested.
for what? I need to know who it is, and we can talk about it privately if you want.
Cousin,
Okay. How long ago?
about 8 years ago. 8 years ago.
8 years ago.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
back then it was illegal. And yeah, not so much anymore. Did you go to court with him?
Did you go to court
Was
with
it
him?
here in Miami?
Was it here in
All
Miami?
right,
Yes,
How
it
do you
was.
feel
All right.
about
How do you
he was
feel
treated?
about how he was treated?
Anything about
Anything
his
about
experience
his
that would keep you from being fair to both sides here?
Fair to both sides here.
Right. Thank you,
No.
Mr. Castro.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Castro.
Who?
Ms. Who?
Feel like we could do.
Feel like we
who's
could
on
do
first.
who's on first here.
Uh,
I cannot. Is
she
she
there?
there?
Oh,
Thank you.
Oh,
there she is.
Good morning, Ms. Who.
After all of that, I have to come up with a question.
I don't have any questions.
I don't have
I'm
any
sorry.
questions. I'm
Thank you,
sorry.
Ms. Who.
Thank you, Ms.
I felt pressure there.
I'm sorry? The child?
Oh, yeah. How did I miss that? Sorry, Ms. Who, come on back. So you have a child that works for the Miami-Dade Police Department?
He's a police officer.
He is, okay. As I said,
We will not have a police officer from Miami-Dade testify. There might be someone from the crime lab. There will be police officers from another agency.
are
Are you able to listen to them and
accept
accept
whatever is credible and reject what's not?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you be fair to both sides?
Of course.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Who.
Ms. Howell. Oh, there's Ms. Howell. So if you get picked for the jury in private, you're going to tell me how you got your first name, Ms. Howell. You told me about
family members, actually plural.
Actually
Your
plural.
family members that
Your
were
family members
arrested.
that were
You said you're
arrested.
not
You said
sure for what.
It's something drug related.
Was it here in Miami? State or federal, if you know?
Federal.
Okay. Did you attend court or anything?
No,
Do you have any opinions on the way they were treated?
no,
Can you be fair to both sides, even
Yes.
though they were arrested?
yes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Howard. Mr. C. Good morning, sir. Don't have any questions.
don't have any questions.
Your only job ever
your
was in
only
the
job ever
military?
was in the military? A few jobs after that.
What kind of
but-
work did you do after?
Recruiting,
Nothing
nothing related to the
criminal law?
criminal law. Compliance,
Okay.
no.
Thank you, sir.
related-
Thank you,
related
sir.
to law.
Mr. Cunningham.
Mr. Cunningham,
Morning, sir.
morning, sir.
I
do not have
any
any
questions.
questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Sands.
Mr. Sands.
We moved him,
I think
right?
we
There
moved
he is.
him, right?
Morning,
There
Mr.
he is.
Sands.
Good morning, Mr. Sands. You told me about a family member that was
and you
arrested
told me
and
for what, but I don't know who it is. Do you want to
you
talk
want to
about
talk about it privately.
We can talk it openly.
Say
Say that again?
We can be open. We can talk.
Okay, who was it that was
Was arrested?
Myself,
How long ago?
How long ago?
20-some years ago,
Was it here in
Was
Miami?
it here
or
in
somewhere
Miami or
else?
somewhere else?
here in Miami.
How was the case?
And how was the
resolved?
resolved?
Dismissed.
Okay.
And how did you
And
feel
how
about
did
the
you
way
feel
were
about the
treated?
way you were treated?
Unfairly.
I couldn't hear you.
Unfairly.
Unfairly. By whom?
The officers.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
So,
even though those officers back then unfairly, can you decide this case fairly to both sides and listen to the officers and decide what you believe and what you don't believe?
I can be fair.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's
to both sides, right?
Correct.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sands. Oh, I'm sorry. I needed to ask you what your kids do because you only wrote their ages. I need to know what kind of jobs they have.
My oldest daughter, she do corrections. My son, he's driver. And my baby girl, she graduated high school. So
Okay.
she's in the mix.
And you said it's your oldest daughter's in corrections?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything about that? Any story
Told you anything that would keep
from being fair to both?
No, ma'am. No, sir.
I get that all the
No,
time.
sir.
It's what happens when you wear a dress to work. You know, people get confused. It's okay. Thank you, Mr. Sands.
Sands. All right, Ms. Munoz. Right here in the
Right
aisle.
here in the aisle. Come on, move it, Ramel.
I don't have any questions for her.
I don't have any questions for you.
Okay,
Okay.
Ms.
Mr.
Hosaw?
Ms. Posal? Ms. Posal, sorry.
Oh,
There she is.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
I literally have not seen you the entire time you've been there. But I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Ms.
Garcia?
Garcia?
Ms.
Ms. Garcia, good morning.
I don't
I
have any
don't have any
questions.
questions. Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Mr. Rodriguez, Max Rodriguez.
Morning, Mr. Rodriguez.
Morning, Mr. Rodriguez.
So you told me about
Some crimes that were committed.
were these all crimes, were you the victim of all of those crimes or was it your family member?
Something for private
discussion.
Oh,
Okay.
sure. Okay.
Then we'll talk about all the
Then
issues.
we'll talk about
in
all
private.
the issues in private. And last but not least, Ms. Ramsing. Ramsing.
Oh, good morning, Mr.
Oh,
Ramsey. How are
Mr.
you,
Ramsing,
sir?
sir. I'm all right. I do not have any questions for you. Thank you. Whew. Okay, so I have 4 people that want to talk to us.
Questions. Is there anyone else? That I haven't already
said you're going to come talk to us in private that wants to talk to us in private?
Nobody?
Oh, Mr. Fruciano. Okay, number 11.
Anyone else? Not anything.
Mr. Radney, number 22.
Anyone else?
I feel like the longer I wait, the more hands that go up. Nobody else, right? Okay.
You're number 14. Yes, you're on my list.
Yes, you're on my list.
The following
people are going to be taken over to the other courtroom one by one. It'll be number 11, Mr. Fruciano, number 14, Mr. Hills,
Number 22, Mr. Radney, number 32.
Howell, Where can I? Oh, Ms.
Howell,
Howell,
number
number 34, Mr. Cunningham, and number 39. I don't know where
39 what? Mr. Rodriguez, right?
Rodriguez, right?
Who's
39? Mr. Rodriguez, you're the one who was going to come talk.
Come talk to us, right? Just couldn't read the handwriting. Got it. All right, so we're gonna go
All right,
over
so
there.
we're gonna go over
break.
there. We're gonna take a
While
break.
we're in this break.
While we're in this break,
The coffee shop is open.
The
here
coffee
on the
shop is
inside,
open
so you
here
can
on the
go over there.
inside, so you can go over there
And get coffee,
and,
whatever you like. You can
coffee,
also
whatever
move
you like.
around.
You
The
can
room
also
is
move
much
around.
bigger
The
than
room
you
is
all are
much bigger
sitting
than
in.
you all are
So feel
sitting
free
in.
to
So
stretch
feel
out.
free to
I'm going
stretch
to
out.
turn
I'm
off
going
the
to
camera.
turn
So
off
when
the
you walk in
camera.
front
So
of
when
it,
you walk
nobody
in
will
front of
see
it, nobody will.
We'll be back in a few minutes.